off, happy 4th of July. And today, I'm going to bust out some of my old American history stuff because, I taught advanced place American history for a long time. It was really a passion of mine, loved it. Yeah, and I just want to talk for a minute about some of the fascinating parts of the 4th of July, because I think it actually has some great insights into our spiritual life. It's interesting with the Fourth of July Declaration of Independence. It really was just that. It was just a declaration of independence. It was a bunch of guys going like, look, we are independent. Here's all the complaints. Here's all the things the king is doing wrong. And there's some fascinating ones in there that could be, we could talk about forever in terms of American history. But here's a list. And we are now declaring our freedom because we are always considered ourselves free to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which we all famously know from the Declaration of Independence. And what's fascinating about it to me is that it does very little, almost nothing, spelling out where they're going. All it's saying is that this isn't working. We're going to move into an independent time and sort of figure it out as we go along. And I was thinking about this line I was reading last night from Christian Wyman, and he said, wonder is the precondition for all wisdom. Wonder is the precondition for all wisdom. And there would have been a lot of wondering at that time, how is this going to work, and what were we actually trying to create, and how could this all function? And it's interesting when you look at the flag at that time, one of the most popular ones, which you still will see some people flying today, is the old "Don't tread on me." And that was kind of the ethos of it, was don't tread on me, don't mess around with my freedom. Now, again, that works for a certain time, but it can't work forever. You need to actually, don't tread on me is not a great theme for marriage, for example. It's a great theme sometimes in our lives, but in terms of building relationships and community, not so great. And it's the same when we look at the Declaration of Independence. Again, a really important document, but it needed to evolve over the next 20 some odd years into the U.S. Constitution. And most people think the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence one and the same, or at the same time. Not true at all. They're quite a distance apart, in terms of chronology. And what does all this have to do with our spirituality? Well, it's interesting to think how humanity, just this deep desire we have for freedom, and it really is, that comes from God. I mean, the desire we have for freedom, the freedom we have in our spiritual lives, really is God's freedom. And that's an interesting way to look at it. It's literally, freedom is a gift from God. And it's not, and of course we can look at it like God's gift to us is allowing us to be free. Totally get that. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I'd ask us even to think of it at a deeper level. That desire to be free mirrors God's desire to be free. And it's that kind of freedom that is that deep desire. And we have to, what would be the right way to say it? Sorry to get into the right language. We have to be protective of freedom. We just do. We have to be protective of our freedom, of other people's freedom, because that's how the world changes. That allows us to grow in humanity. Again, a river without banks is a puddle. It needs to be freedom within certain limits. Totally get that. That's for sure. And it also mirrors, God's desire to be free. And what does it look like to maintain God's freedom to act in the world? Because a lot of the time, especially in religious circles, we can be very circumscribed about God's freedom. We can actually believe it just as this and sort of collapse it into just this particular thing, and that all these particular conditions have to happen because that's the freedom God desires. Not necessarily true. We've got to be super careful that we may actually be taking away God's freedom to act in times and with people who we can't imagine it really working with, and that's not a good place to be. So today, folks, with the 4th of July, there's kind of the practical element of it, which is like smile at these guys, because, Jefferson, Hancock, all these other people wrote this beautiful document. First off, it clearly had parts to it that we look at today and we think, what were they thinking? That wasn't really true at the time. Again, slavery was rampant, and all these awful parts of the American experience. But there's also these very light parts of the American experience too. And here I'm meaning LIGHT, this light and this inspiration, which I think we can still very much draw from this document. I certainly do. And we can smile at thinking, yeah, and these people, they just didn't know where they were going. Like, all they knew is that they were not going to do this. All they knew was, we're not here anymore. We've got to move towards something else. and sort of a little teenagerish there, but again, a beautiful part of growth, a beautiful part of what became very much an ethos of the American experience. And then the second part is to look at it in terms of what all this has to do with our spiritual lives. And with our spiritual lives, again, like the very core part, that says that God maintains our freedom as if it was the apple of his own eye, that we are always free to make decisions. Now, again, decisions that are circumscribed within our life circumstances. But we can so much choose, as Viktor Frankl famously said. We can always choose our attitude towards things. We may not be able to choose all the conditions all the time, but we can definitely choose our attitude, how we approach it, how we see it, and do the work to seeing it in better ways. And as we do that, remember, we're not just here to protect our own freedom, but we're also here to protect God's, and how God is free to work in the world, and trying to avoid anything that, again, is collapsing that into saying God can only act within these very prescribed conditions. That's just not true. I mean, some of God's best work is in places we would not even imagine he could show up in, but that's where he seems to show up all the time. So, friends, wishing you and yours a very happy 4th of July. May you have a wonderful day celebrating. May you enjoy fireworks, if that is your enjoyment. May you enjoy Kentucky Fried Chicken, if that is your enjoyment as well. Can you tell what we're doing today? And and just wishing you all the very best. So with that, friends, what we're going to do now we're going to do a little prayer, a little meditation, and then we'll say hi to folks on social media. So with that, friends, let's all start out by getting a big breath. Line of meditation. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little cheery hello to folks here. All right, just let me pull this up. And again, I hope you're really going to have a great, wishing you all the very best on 4th of July. It is a fun little low-key holiday, that is for sure. All right, let's take a look over here. Sorry about this, folks. Again, I'm not the fastest afoot when it comes to these things. All right, just a couple of comments today, which is all good. Marcus, good morning and happy 4th to you, buddy. And Jeff, good morning, friends. Have a peaceful 4th. And we'll end with that note and just wishing you folks all the best. May you have a great day on this 4th of July. Take care. Bye-bye.